Chapter 9, Thunderous Decisiveness, 3 men downed in an instant. Chu Xuan didn't linger at the original spot but immediately left, climbing up a nearby hill and hiding behind rocks. In such times, betrayal could come from anyone. The only person he could truly trust was himself. Soon after, Chen Ji briskly walked out of the Wu family residence and returned to the original spot under the trees. However, there was no sign of Chu Xuan, and he couldn't help but look puzzled. Chu Xuan did not reveal himself immediately but carefully observed his surroundings and listened for any slight sound. Growing anxious, Chen Ji called out in a low voice, "Senior brother Chu, where are you?" After waiting a while longer, Chu Xuan finally showed himself, causing Chen Ji to sigh in relief. He quickly understood why Chu Xuan had chosen to leave the original spot. Few demon cultivators who had survived the pursuit of the 5 orthodox sects were foolish enough to easily trust others. Without much ado, Chen Ji pulled a formation plate and flags from his storage bag and handed them over. Chu Xuan examined them briefly and nodded slightly. This was indeed the blood refining array. The basic version of the array was just a mid-grade magical tool, manageable even by chi refining stage cultivators. However, stacking additional layers to create complex formations like the soul-stealing blood refining array or the evil condensation blood refining array would catapult it into the realm of treasures, controllable only by golden core stage cultivators. The difficulty of setup and the materials required would increase 100-fold. "Senior brother Chu, are you sure you won't join us?" Chen Ji couldn't help but ask again. "Uncle Master Liu has been very good to us. When we last retreated to the Wu family estate, he covered our retreat." Chu Xuan shook his head, "No." He then turned and left, showing no interest in lingering. The remnants of the Infinite Sect were thorns in the sides of the orthodox sects, and being associated with Liu Xuan, though seemingly an advantage, actually painted a bigger target on their backs. If danger came, Liu Xuan might escape, but chi refining stage cultivators like himself would not have it so easy. He couldn't entrust his life to others. With the blood refining array in hand, Chu Xuan felt a surge of relief. His next task was to find a safe place to fully charge the blood mirror. Once he returned to the apocalyptic planet, he would set up the blood refining array and rapidly advance his cultivation. However, just over 20 miles away from the Wu family, Chu Xuan sensed something amiss. Indeed, several streaks of light appeared, swiftly blocking his path on both sides. 3 figures emerged, clad in snow-white robes with gold sword-shaped embroidery at the collar and sleeves, a uniform that Chu Xuan recognized all too well. They were chi refining stage disciples of the Divine Star Sect. "What brings the 3 of you here?" Chu Xuan asked, his face clouded with confusion. The trio scrutinized him briefly. The middle-aged cultivator at the forefront spoke calmly, "By the command of Uncle Master Sun, it has been decreed that no one may enter or exit within 50 miles of the Wu family estate, lest remnants of the Infinite Sect are harbored therein." Chu Xuan feigned astonishment, exclaiming, "Remnants of the Infinite Sect? But I am merely an honest loose cultivator." The middle-aged cultivator replied impatiently, "I care not whether you're a loose or a demon cultivator. Today, no one shall pass this junction. If you value your life, stay put. Once Uncle Master Sun has ascertained that the Wu family harbors no affiliations with the Infinite Sect, you, being uninvolved, shall remain unharmed." With a placating smile, Chu Xuan nodded vigorously, very well, I am willing to cooperate." Seeing his submissive demeanor, the middle-aged cultivator smirked arrogantly, "That's right, loose cultivators like you ought to obey." Chu Xuan gave an awkward smile. Just then, 2 streaks of light shot across the sky at a breathtaking speed. Lifting an eyebrow, Chu Xuan ventured, "Could that be the esteemed Sun Chi of your sect?" With a slight chuckle, the middle-aged cultivator confirmed, "Indeed. With 2 foundation establishment stage Uncle Masters stepping forward, they will surely turn the Wu estate inside out." Chu Xuan nodded. Sun Chi was the very person who had led the encirclement against him in Green River City. He remembered it vividly. Had he not been cautious and disguised himself with Heliang's face, he might well have been a corpse by now. Suddenly, Chu Xuan spoke up, "Just the 3 of you? If there truly are remnants of the Infinite Sect within the Wu estate, can you 3 manage to hold this position?" The cultivator scoffed, "The remnants of the Infinite Sect are but defeated soldiers. The 3 of us possess at least the strength of the 5th level of chi refining, ample to guard this pass and stop any chi refining stage demonic cultivators. As for any Foundation establishment stage demonic cultivators, they shall be dealt with by Uncle Master Sun and the others. Chu Xuan nodded again. The next moment, he suddenly pointed behind the middle-aged cultivator and cried out in alarm, "Watch out!" Startled, the cultivator thought an attack from the Infinite Sect was coming from behind. He swiftly turned around, readying his magical tool for defense. The other two cultivators did likewise, spinning around in alarm. However, there was nothing behind them, no sign of any Infinite Sect demonic cultivators. A ghastly roar then tore through the air. One of the Divine Star Sect disciples grimaced in agony as he looked down to discover his chest grotesquely torn open by a dark, formidable claw, his heart gruesomely excavated. The other disciple reacted swiftly, creating distance before immediately directing his heavenly star sword at Chu Xuan. Every disciple of the Chi refining stage at the Divine Star Sect was issued such a sword, a standard armament. However, this disciple's swordsmanship was evidently lackluster. The heavenly star sword zigzagged clumsily towards Chu Xuan, slow as an elderly man. Chu Xuan did not even need to make a move himself, who charged forward in a flash and sent the sword flying with a sharp clang. The corpse's claw, swift as lightning, slashed across the neck of the cultivator in an instant. Blood spurted dramatically as a head was severed cleanly, its eyes still wide with confusion. The middle-aged cultivator reacted more quickly, immediately summoning a small shield for protection. However, a streak of blood had already traced across Chu Xuan's palm. Sensing danger, the cultivator attempted to dodge, but his speed was no match for the blood-steel wire. With a crisp snap, his right arm was severed cleanly at the root. The shield clattered to the ground as blood gushed forth like a fountain. The middle-aged cultivator screamed in agony and staggered back in terror, but Chu Xuan gave him no chance for recovery. Once again, he manipulated the blood-steel wire, while Hu pounced fiercely from behind. Caught between attacks from front and back, he stood no chance. His heart was pierced by Hu, and his throat was slit by the blood-steel wire, culminating in his immediate death. This scene, though described slowly, occurred in the blink of an eye. Within mere moments, 3 Chi refining stage cultivators were slain by Chu Xuan. Exhaling a heavy breath, Chu Xuan felt invigorated. Even he had not anticipated such an enhancement in his strength. His opponents were 3 Chi refining stage cultivators, all at least at the 5th level of Chi refining, with the middle-aged leader at the 7th level, higher than himself. Yet now, they had been effortlessly dispatched by him. There's no time to linger. Quickly, Chu Xuan collected the storage bags and magic tools from the 3, then vanished into the vast wilderness. He chose not to use a flying magical tool, which would make him too conspicuous, opting instead to travel on foot. Chapter 10. Did Senior Brother Chu encounter the Divine Star Sect? Elsewhere, within the Wu family estate, a courtyard held a figure of formidable stature seated in meditation on a daybed. This cultivator, who bore a wound on his left arm wrapped in lingering sword energy that refused to dissipate, occasionally grimaced in pain. He was Liu Xuan, a Foundation establishment stage cultivator of the Infinite Sect and the direct disciple of the Third Elder. At a certain moment, his eyes snapped open, a glint of cold light flashing through them. Have the Divine Star Sect people arrived? Pulling out a token and channeling spiritual chi into it, he called out in a low voice, "Disciples of the Infinite Sect, gather to me." The token not only identified one's affiliation but also carried the capability to transmit messages, though this function was limited to a range of no more than 1,000 li. Upon hearing his summons, Chen Ji, Wei Hua, and other disciples promptly converged at the small courtyard, quickly swelling the numbers to over a dozen Chi refining stage cultivators. Liu Xuan spoke in an undertone, 2 Foundation establishment stage cultivators from the Divine Star Sect have appeared, likely targeting me. The disciples gasped in alarm. Liu Xuan continued gravely, Xu Ming and Bai Feng, you two are the strongest among the Chi refining stage disciples present. Take half of the disciples each and leave separately. I will stay behind momentarily to cover your retreat. Touched by his dedication, the disciples immediately accepted the command, yes. Chen Ji and Wei Hua were among those assigned to Xu Ming's group. As they gathered their belongings, Chen Ji suddenly tensed, recalling something. Senior Brother Chu just purchased the blood refining array and left not long ago. He wouldn't have run into the Divine Star Sect cultivators, would he? Wei Hua sighed softly, hard to say. Let's hope he's lucky enough to avoid them. Ming scoffed. Wasn't he the one worried about being a large target and reluctant to follow Uncle Master Liu? Why worry about him? If he's dead, what does it matter to us? Frowning, Wei Hua rebuked. Ming, we are all in the same boat now, we should be pulling together. Why hold such a grudge against Chu Xuan, especially at a time like this? Ming snorted dismissively. My issues with him are none of your business. Didn't you hear what Uncle Master Li just said? I'm leading this group. Wei Hua clenched his teeth but remained silent. Back when the Infinite Sect was still intact, Ming often competed with Chu Xuan for the 10th rank within the Inner Disciples, a position that could attract the attention of the elders for potential direct discipleship. Although Ming was slightly higher in cultivation level, he consistently lacked the strength to best Chu Xuan and remained perpetually one rank below him at 11th, fueling his resentment. This backstory was well known to Chen Ji, Wei Hua, and others. Bai Feng and his group will head towards Wind-Flowing Mountain through the east side gate, Ming spoke calmly. We will take the west side gate, circle past Red Lake, and hide in White Ray Mountain. As a demonic cultivator who had survived to this point, Ming was no fool. Upon arriving at the Wu family estate, he had anticipated that righteous cultivators might someday come knocking, and he had prepared escape plans accordingly. Wind-Flowing Mountain and White Ray Mountain were among the most remote and densely wooded areas in Green River Prefecture. Even if the Divine Star Sect cultivators mobilized extensive manpower, it would take them months to find any trace of them in these mountains. Of course, if a Golden Core stage cultivator from the Divine Star Sect were to intervene, using their spiritual sense could instantly reveal every detail within the entire mountain range, leaving no place to hide. In such cases, they would have no choice but to accept their fate. However, it was highly unlikely for a Golden Core stage cultivator to personally deal with a few Chi refining stage juniors for two main reasons. Firstly, it would be seen as beneath them. Engaging directly with such low-level cultivators could be perceived as undignified. Secondly, the benefits did not align. If a Golden Core stage demonic cultivator were to hide in the mountains, then indeed, righteous Golden Core stage cultivators would promptly pursue them. Let's go, Ming gestured broadly, and Chen Ji, Wei Hua, and two others quickly followed. They had all disguised themselves and deliberately donned the attire of loose cultivators to blend in. Not long after leaving the Wu family estate, the sounds of combat reached their ears from behind, clangs and clashes of magical tools in the sky. Clearly, Liu Zhenxian had engaged the two Foundation establishment stage cultivators from the Divine Star Sect. The battle sounded fierce. Move quickly, the sooner we leave, the sooner Uncle Master Liu can extricate himself, Wei Hua urged in a low shout. Ming nodded, and the group hastened their pace. However, they had only gotten 7 or 8 miles away from the Wu estate when Ming abruptly stopped and signaled for the others to do the same with a fist in the air. What's wrong? Chen Ji asked, his voice tinged with nervous suspicion. They were like startled rabbits, already on edge. Ming whispered, my poison locusts saw that there are Divine Star Sect disciples guarding the path ahead. We must take a detour. He had cultivated a type of GU insect called the poison locust, which looked indistinguishable from ordinary locusts at first glance. But in swarms of thousands, they could inflict severe damage on an enemy. Poison locusts could also be used as scouts. Before departing, Ming had released a swarm of his cultivated locusts to keep an eye on their surroundings, alerting them to any movements. Which way should we go? Wei Hua asked. Ming gritted his teeth. To the west, towards White Ray Mountain, there are 3 Divine Star Sect disciples on guard. We have no choice but to head south. South? Chen Ji and the others were shocked. That's the main gate of the Wu family estate, it's the main road. There might be even more Divine Star Sect disciples stationed there. Ming clenched his jaw. Right now, we can only take it one step at a time. If we have to, we'll just have to weave through them. Let's hope we don't get spotted. Follow me. Ming gestured broadly and took the lead. Chen Ji, Wei Hua, and the others exchanged glances, resigned to follow. Lacking in strength and without any powerful backing, they felt as vulnerable as rats crossing the street. The group cautiously advanced for a while, gradually approaching the flat main road. Chen Ji whispered, Senior Brother Chu must have taken the main road, I wonder how he's doing. Wei Hua pondered for a moment. Chu Xuan is a master of disguise, perhaps he's been detained by the Divine Star Sect disciples under the guise of being a loose cultivator. Chen Ji's heart tightened. If that's true, what should we do? Xu Ming scoffed. Are you thinking of exposing ourselves to save him? You're overthinking it. We can barely protect ourselves, let alone someone else. To save others, save yourself first. Surely you understand that. Chen Ji, Wei Hua, and the others remained silent. We are here. Just then, Chen Ji noticed that the landscape ahead opened up and quietly alerted the group. Keep quiet, Xu Ming hissed. Wait, but why is there a smell of blood? Wei Hua paused, surprised. Everyone stopped, equally startled. They then saw, up ahead on the ground, 3 bodies lying still. From their attire, it was clear these were Divine Star Sect disciples. 2 of them were decapitated, their eyes bulging out as if they couldn't believe their own deaths. Chapter 11, Myriad Souls Banner. Chen Ji, with a sudden gesture, pointed at a middle-aged cultivator's head and cried out in alarm. That head. I know it. It belongs to Wei Peng, ranked 9th among the Inner Sect disciples of the Divine Star Sect. This fellow is a master of the 7th Qi refining level. 2 of our Inner Sect senior brothers fell by his hand. Xu Ming, Wei Hua, and the others turned their gaze in that direction, only to recoil in shock. Wei Peng, at the 7th Qi refining level, possessed a strength far surpassing theirs. Was he now dead? Moreover, the surrounding area showed scant evidence of combat. Clearly, these 3 had scarcely managed to resist before they were easily dispatched. Who could be responsible for this? Chen Ji swallowed hard. Could it be? I mean, is it possible that these 3 were killed by senior brother Chu? Xu Ming promptly refuted. Impossible. Chu Xuan is merely at the 4th Qi refining level. He could at best defeat a 5th level cultivator. Moreover, facing 3 adversaries, how could he effortlessly eliminate them all? It would require at least the prowess of the 8th Qi refining level to instantly annihilate these 3. Chen Ji, Wei Hua, and the others pondered this and also deemed it unlikely. Xu Ming exclaimed with vigor, let us depart, for whoever slew them has done us a great service. Once we reach safety, it will not be too late to extend our thanks to this adept. Chen Ji, Wei Hua, and the others concurred, nodding, indeed, let us hasten. The 5 quickened their stride and soon disappeared into the woodland. Elsewhere, Chu Xuan had long since left the Wu family estate. He did not venture into any mortal hamlets or towns, but once assured of his distance, he found a small mountain and usurped a bear's den. The den's rightful owner was courteously escorted into the stomach. Chu Xuan stirred the spiritual qi, purging the cave of its impurities and foul air. He then concealed the entrance and settled down cross-legged, eagerly inspecting the fruits of his venture. Foremost was, of course, his own storage bag. Currently, it housed the blood refining array and over 100 small spiritual stones. These stones were acquired in exchange with Chen Ji, Wei Hua, and others for 30 blood beads. Previously, a blood bead was priced at 2 small spiritual stones each, now they've risen to 3. TSK, looks like they have scant opportunities to hunt demonic beasts and mortals for refining blood beads. Chu Xuan's gaze then drifted to the side. The lesser storage bags of these 3 Divine Star Sect disciples piqued his anticipation even more, for they were akin to blind boxes that might contain treasures. He methodically opened each bag. A sparkle flashed in his eyes. The belongings in the bags of the 2 5th-level Qi refining disciples were mundane, merely containing 300 to 400 small spiritual stones and the standardized magic tool granted by the Divine Star Sect. However, the bag of the 7th-level Qi refining disciple was far more promising, holding 2 medium spiritual stones and over 800 small spiritual stones, along with a set of the Qi gathering array and a mystifying array, both optimal for establishing a cave dwelling. Beyond these, Chu Xuan unexpectedly discovered something extraordinary. He hastily retrieved the item from the bag. It was a sinister, pitch-black banner within which resided the mournful wails and cries of countless tormented souls, sending shivers down one's spine. Chu Xuan's eyebrows rose in intrigue. The Myriad Souls banner was a superior-grade magic tool. Typically, Qi refining stage cultivators possessed only lower or middle-grade magic tools. Those at the Foundation establishment stage might acquire superior or even top-grade magic tools. It was unexpected that a disciple of the Divine Star Sect would possess a Myriad Souls banner. Demonic cultivators often captured gloomy souls or hunted other cultivators to extract their living souls, placing them into the Myriad Souls banner for refinement. Over time, these gloomy and living souls would transform into fierce ghosts, more ferocious, more terrifying. Once unleashed, the Myriad Souls banner would release thousands of these fierce ghosts, surging like a tidal wave. Chu Xuan, ever perceptive, quickly grasped the situation. The Divine Star Sect disciple had likely stumbled upon and slain a cultivator from the Infinite Sect, obtaining the Myriad Souls banner, and, rather than surrendering it to his sect, had secreted it away. The reasons for keeping it hidden were obvious. The Myriad Souls banner, a notorious demonic path magic tool, was immensely powerful. Clearly, he intended to keep it for himself and secretly refine it. One of the righteous 5 sects, and yet not all within the Divine Star Sect are as honorable as they claim, Chu Xuan scoffed. Demonic treasures were powerful and quick to manifest, who wouldn't covet them? Were it not for the heavenly retribution that indiscriminate slaughter would incur, perhaps the righteous 5 sects would have long since turned to the demonic path. Nonetheless, this superior grade Myriad Souls banner was an unexpected boon. Whether Divine Star Sect or Infinite Sect cultivators, anyone wishing to accumulate souls within the Myriad Souls banner would need to operate in secrecy. But Chu Xuan was different. Once he returned to that apocalyptic planet, there would be plenty of zombies from which he could extract living souls. With this, I have gained yet another treasure to accompany me, Chu Xuan thought, content. He immediately sat down cross-legged and began to meditate quietly. The blood mirror in his embrace slowly absorbed the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, gradually charging up. 5 days later, at White Ray Mountain, Xu Ming, Chen Ji, Wei Hua, and the others were hidden within a cave, anxiously waiting. Logically, Liu Zhenxian should have shaken off Sun Shi and the other Divine Star Sect cultivators 3 days ago and met up with them. Yet another 2 days had passed without a glimpse of Liu Zhenxian. They dared not descend the mountain to investigate further, nor did they know the current state of the Wu family estate. Each day and night was spent in anxious anticipation. Perhaps we should disguise ourselves and go down the mountain to look, Xu Ming suggested, glancing at Chen Ji. Your skills in disguise are the best among us, you go and check. Chen Ji's heart tightened. Why should I go? I always went to the peace market before. If we are going, you go. Xu Ming stood up abruptly, his voice low and stern. Uncle Master Liu personally assigned me to lead this team. Chen Ji, are you planning to defy orders? Muttering under his breath, Chen Ji begrudgingly began to apply makeup. However, he had only done half when Liu Zhenxian's voice suddenly rang from outside. No need to go down the mountain, I'm back. Liu Zhenxian appeared at the cave entrance with a disciple in tow. Xu Ming was overjoyed. Uncle Master, you're finally back. Liu Zhenxian scanned a group and nodded slightly. The Wu family estate was surrounded tightly, yet you all managed to escape alive without a single loss. Truly fortunate. He pointed to the disciple behind him. Bai Feng and his group originally planned to flee to Wind Mountain, but they were ambushed en route. Only Bai Feng was lucky enough to escape and was rescued by me. Bai Feng gave a wry smile. If not for Uncle Master arriving just in time, I would have perished too. Xu Ming, you and the others are really lucky. Did you not encounter any intercepting Divine Star Sect disciples? Xu Ming, Chen Ji, and Wei Hua exchanged glances and recounted the events of that day. 3 Divine Star Sect disciples, including one at the 7th Qi refining level, are dead. Liu Zhenxian and Bai Feng were astonished. No signs of a struggle. I presume it was an instant kill, leaving no chance for retaliation. It's highly likely only a cultivator of the 8th Qi refining level could achieve this, Xu Ming murmured. Chen Ji timidly raised his hand. Uncle Master, could it be senior brother Chu? He has always been exceptionally strong. Chapter 12, Fetcher Live 1. Xu Ming frowned, still discussing Chu Xuan. After these past few months without sufficient cultivation resources, he's probably still at the 4th level of Qi refining. How could someone at that level instantly kill a 7th level cultivator? Chen Ji couldn't help but interject, but remember, senior brother Chu traded 30 blood beads with us, perhaps his strength has advanced. Xu Ming's face showed impatience. Liu Zhenxian chuckled. Chu Xuan, who has been consistently ranked 10th among the inner sect. I recall him. Although his talent is ordinary, his strength is formidable, a promising seed indeed. However, even if he's reached the 5th level of Qi refining now, facing 3 opponents of similar realms would still pose a great challenge, let alone one at the 7th level. Chen Ji was momentarily at a loss for words. Liu Zhenxian pondered for a moment, then added, the top 10 disciples of our Infinite Sect's inner sect were all captured. It couldn't have been one of the Infinite Sect's cultivators. Perhaps it was a passing rogue cultivator who lent you a hand. Liu Zhenxian casually remarked, no need to dwell on this further, let's return to the Wu family. Xu Ming and the others were startled. Return? Liu Zhenxian smiled slightly. They've turned the Wu family estate upside down, discovering that the Wu family's ancestor was under my influence, which is why we were hidden there. In reality, that foundation establishment stage cultivator from the Wu family is one of our own. Now, the Wu family estate is truly a safe haven. 5 days later. In the cave, Chu Xuan slowly opened his eyes, showing a hint of joy. Over the past few days, he had been absorbing blood beads daily to operate the blood spirit technique. The blood beads he had purified using the blood transformation technique on that apocalyptic planet were now exhausted. His cultivation had made significant progress. He was already at the pinnacle of the 6th level of Qi refining, just a step away from the 7th level. The 7th level of Qi refining was considered the late stage of Qi refining. He checked the blood mirror, it was fully charged. The time is right, it's time to return. Chu Xuan immersed his thoughts into the blood mirror, connecting to the apocalyptic planet. Instantly, the world spun around him. When his vision cleared, he was astonished to find himself standing in a shopping mall. However, he could hardly believe how the Walmart shopping mall had changed. It was charred black everywhere, clearly unsuitable as a stronghold anymore. Chu Xuan furrowed his brows. During his absence, someone had come to the Walmart and set it on fire maliciously. Interesting, Chu Xuan scoffed coldly. As a demonic cultivator, he hadn't yet provoked anyone, yet he had already been targeted. Hu, fetch me a live one. Chu Xuan took out the corpse-nurturing tower, released Hu, and commanded. Roar. With a roar, Hu, like a streak of black lightning, shot out. In a nearby district, inside a small supermarket, a woman lay on the ground, her head blooded, dazed and barely conscious. A gaunt man knelt beside her, weeping bitterly. Before them stood a burly man, muscular and imposing, wielding a modified iron rod in his hand. The rod was studded with rusty nails, striking anyone with it could cause tetanus if not outright death. Don't kill her, don't kill her. I'll do anything. The gaunt man stretched out his hands in a gesture of surrender. The burly man chuckled darkly, oh. Anything. He smirked. Then help her onto that chair and tie yourself up. With his life hanging by a thread, the gaunt man had no choice but to comply. Moments later, after securing himself tightly with ropes, he pleaded, can we go free now? The burly man burst into laughter. Kid, you're too naive. Had you struggled desperately, I might have hesitated. But now you're just a sitting duck. Ever since I was young, I've had a particular fancy that I've never been able to indulge. Now, I think I'll give it a try. His face twisted into a malevolent grin as his gaze roved lasciviously over the woman's curves. Only then did the gaunt man realize the danger. He roared in anger, Wenbao, you want food and water, I have it at home, just don't touch her. Wenbao laughed sinisterly, his thick hands tearing away the woman's jacket, revealing her pale skin beneath. Go to hell. The gaunt man roared, a lion-like strength erupting from him as he charged at Wenbao with the heavy iron chair. However, Wenbao was on guard. He whirled around and swung his rod. Thud. The gaunt man's body fell heavily, his skull cracking open, blood and brain matter scattering. Wenbao sneered, Idoid, trying to fight me. His words were cut short as he screamed in pain. The woman had awakened, grabbing his fingers and savagely biting into them. Her eyes were white, devoid of pupils, surrounded by bloodshot veins. She had clearly turned into a zombie. Damn it. This idiot brought a woman bitten by a zombie along. Wenbao recoiled in horror, cursing furiously. Having witnessed the zombie outbreak for over 5 years, he had seen numerous comrades get bitten and turn into zombies. But having it happen to himself was both infuriating and terrifying. Damn it, die. Wenbao bellowed in rage, wildly swinging his tetanus-ridden iron rod. The woman's skull was smashed open, her blood and brain matter spraying out in a gruesome fountain. Standing still, Wenbao gasped for fresh air, his hands trembling as he fumbled in his pocket for a long while before finally pulling out a cigarette and a lighter. He had kept this cigarette in his pocket for over 3 months, never daring to smoke it. Now, facing the prospect of turning into a zombie, he figured there was no better time. Oh shit. Just then, he heard footsteps approaching. Squinting, he saw a massive, pitch-black zombie striding towards him. This zombie was significantly larger than typical ones, resembling a moving mountain. High-level zombie. Wenbao's heart skipped a beat. This creature was clearly a high-level zombie. He thought about running, but then remembered he had been bitten and would soon turn into a zombie himself. He stopped in his tracks. Hey, I'm about to be a zombie too, can I hang with you? Wenbao, rather manically, gestured towards the mountainous zombie. The next moment, he saw the huge zombie charge towards him. With a swift motion, his right arm scooped Wenbao up and tapped him under its armpit. Thump. Thump. The massive zombie powerfully leapt from the ground, soaring over 5 meters high with each bound, repeatedly vaulting through the air. Wenbao, dizzied by the motion, struggled to keep his bearings. When his vision finally cleared, he was astonished to find himself standing inside a dark, wall-covered shopping mall. Chapter 13, The Second Corpse Soldier. Wenbao was momentarily stunned. He recognized this place. Several months ago, he had driven Zhao Hom here to this Walmart. Zhao Hom's brother-in-law, Tang Hu, had disappeared right here. At that time, Zhao Hom had Ling Dao investigate. Ling Dao ultimately concluded that there might be a high-level zombie here. Later, Zhao Hom ordered them to douse the place in gasoline and set it aflame. The chilling atmosphere of that day contrasted sharply with the outside temperature, which had soared to 30 degrees. The memory was still vivid in his mind. At this moment, the hulking zombie beside him was unusually docile, completely still. Wenbao couldn't help but take a closer look. Upon closer inspection, he realized that the zombie's face bore a striking resemblance to someone he knew, Tang Hu. Though the zombie's body had swollen significantly, its arms and legs massively thickened, it was still discernibly Tang Hu. Suddenly, he noticed a young man busily working ahead of him. Arrived. That was quick, the young man said casually, his back to Wenbao as he tinkered with something. Hu growled a few times, seemingly a bit proud. Chu Xuan laughed heartily, well done indeed, bringing a live one so quickly. I'll make you a companion shortly. Hu roared excitedly in response. Chu Xuan casually took a seat on a chair and waved his hand. Hu then forced Wenbao to kneel in front of the young man. Oh, you've been bitten. Good, killing you won't reduce my merit, Chu Xuan noted Wenbao's fingers with a nonchalant smile. Seeing his smile, Wenbao instinctively felt fear. He somehow felt as though he was facing a ferocious beast, not a person. Unable to contain his curiosity, Wenbao asked, "Who are you? Why can you control Brother Hu?" Chu Xuan chuckled strangely, "You know who? Looks like you must be from that spirit hounds, huh?" Wenbao nodded. Chu Xuan's pupils flashed with a purple light. "Good, you answer my questions now." At that moment, Wenbao felt as if his soul had been seized, turning him into a puppet who could only comply. This spell, known as the soul-capturing gaze, was a low-tier chi refining stage technique, usable only against those whose realms were far below one's own, possessing no offensive power. Chu Xuan deployed the soul-capturing gaze simply to avoid wasting words and to quickly gather the information he needed. "Name," he commanded. "Wenbao." "What position do you hold in the Spirit Hounds?" "Boss Zhao's confidant." "Who ordered the burning of this palace?" "Boss Zhao directed us to burn it." Chu Xuan raised an eyebrow. It was indeed Zhao Hom from the Spirit Hounds. He continued his interrogation, and Wenbao responded obligatorily. After a while, the effect of the soul-capturing gaze ended, and Wenbao gradually recovered from his dazed state. His head throbbed painfully, unaware of what had just transpired. Worse yet, the virus had already infected his entire body, and bloodthirsty thoughts began to emerge. "Arg!" Wenbao let out a harsh scream. Chu Xuan snapped his fingers. Hu immediately stepped forward, lifting Wenbao and throwing him into a bathtub already filled with corpse-refining elixir. Wenbao frantically gulped down the liquid, and soon, all noises ceased. "Ah, the noodles are ready, time to show off," Chu Xuan said, picking up the steaming bowl of instant noodles and beginning to eat. While eating, he contemplated his next moves. According to Wang Bao, Zhao Hong seems to have tamed 3 dogs, each over 3 meters long and ferociously formidable. Zhao Hong himself appears skinny but possesses muscle strength far beyond ordinary man. Furthermore, there's the existence of high-level zombies, far stronger than regular zombies. Could they have been mutated by the virus? This apocalyptic planet is intriguing. There might be threats that could challenge me, necessitating an organization to gather intelligence for me. Moreover, the number of zombies I can exterminate alone is limited. Having a gang at my disposal would greatly enhance efficiency. Chu Xuan nodded slightly. This spirit hounds might be worth bringing under his command. Of course, turning them all into corpse puppets was also an option. It all depended on his whim. 2 days later, Chu Xuan examined the rigid corpse puppet he had created, nodding in satisfaction. He placed it in the corpse nurturing tower and infused it with spiritual qi, performing an identification spell. 3rd level corpse soldier, medium talent. It spells a shadow walk and in fire spike, not bad. Chu Xuan raised an eyebrow. Both of the corpse puppets he had refined possessed medium talent. Shadow walk allowed for concealing one's presence and moving almost invisibly at high speeds. Yin Fire Spike involved condensing yin fire in the palm and striking fiercely at an enemy. Very good. Shadow Walk combined with Yin Fire Spike makes for an excellent assassin. Chu Xuan chuckled as he nodded. This combination of spells was perfect. From now on, you'll be called Bao. Chu Xuan patted the corpse puppet's shoulders satisfactorily. Bao immediately let out a joyous roar, as if celebrating his rebirth. Roar roar, who growled disapprovingly nearby. Bao's voice instantly quieted down, and he shrank his neck, showing great respect towards Hu. Hu then roared a few more times contentedly. In just that short moment, the 2 corpse puppets had already established their hierarchy. Chu Xuan stretched lazily and smiled slightly. It's time now, let's head to Haodai Hotel. Roar roar. Hu and Bao both roared excitedly, their eyes gleaming with a bloodthirsty light. At the entrance of Haodai Hotel, there was originally just a security booth. However, under Zhao Hong's command, a watchtower rising 3 meters above the ground had been constructed. 2 men stationed in the tower were supposed to be on alert, but instead, they were engaged in a card game. Despite the Spirit Hound's massive strength, boasting over 300 members known for their bloodthirsty ferocity in the entirety of East Lake City, only Black Blade security, no other major power could rival them. Lone survivors and smaller groups dared not provoke the Spirit Hounds. The 2 men in the watchtower weren't actually keeping watch, they were absorbed in their card game. Chu Xuan could hear the men shouting from a distance and himself as he approached. Having fun, gentlemen. The 2 men instantly became alert, dropped their handmade cards, and hurriedly stood up. They were shocked to find 3 figures at the gate. The leader was a handsome young man in odd attire that seemed more suited to a fantasy drama than modern times. Behind him stood 2 towering, burly figures with grim expressions, looking as though they were ready to charge and devour at any moment. Who are you? The guards demanded. Chu Xuan smiled, the new boss of the Spirit Hounds. The 2 guards looked at each other and burst into laughter. That's hilarious. You, a kid whose dick hasn't even grown in fully, want to be the new boss? After their laughter subsided, their expressions turned cold. You are interrupting our game, go eat shit. They picked up trash from beside them and hurled it towards Chu Xuan. Chapter 14, Where is Zhao Hong? Chu Xuan stood motionless as Hu swiftly positioned himself in front of him. With a loud clang, he swatted away the filth hurled their way. Kill them. They are just wasting food anyway, Chu Xuan waved dismissively. Roar roar. Hu and Bao responded eagerly. The 2 corpse puppets propelled themselves off the ground like springs, instantly leaping onto the watchtower. The 2 guards widened their eyes in shock, unprepared for what was happening, and were swiftly disemboweled. Hu and Bao relished their feast, devouring with gusto. Stop eating, open the gate, Chu Xuan commanded casually. Hu let out a few embarrassed roars and hurried to the gate, smashing it open with a single powerful swipe of his claw. Chu Xuan then leisurely walked into the Haodai Hotel. The loud noise from the gate drew the attention of many inside. They peered out of windows or stepped out of doors, only to be met with the sight of Chu Xuan and the 2 guards being devoured. Panic ensued. My God! Zombies have breached our headquarters. Quickly, more than 20 men armed with long guns and clubs confronted Chu Xuan. They eyed the oddly dressed youth, feeling an inexplicable sense of dread. "I'm here for Zhao Hong," Chu Xuan stated indifferently. "Ridiculous. You think you can just ask to see the boss?" one of the men scoffed, growling at him. Chu Xuan simply waved his hand, and Bao charged out, dragging the man from the crowd and slashing his throat open. Blood spurted out like a fountain, causing the others to shiver. Their gaze towards Chu Xuan shifted dramatically. The zombies were obeying him. This man can control zombies. No wonder he dared to storm into the Spirit Hound's stronghold. Some looked more closely at Hu and Bao, recognition dawning on them. After a moment, someone screamed, "They are Brother Hu and Brother Bao." The others caught on, filled with horror. Tang Hu was Zhao Hong's brother-in-law, and Wang Bao was one of his trusted subordinates. Both had once held significant status within the Spirit Hounds, far beyond ordinary members. Now, they had both turned into imposing zombies, following orders from this young man. The situation was utterly unbelievable. Chu Xuan frowned, his impatience growing with these slow-witted gang members who still hadn't fetched Zhao Hong. He seriously doubted the utility of the Spirit Hounds. Even if he took control, these people seemed more like freeloaders than useful subordinates. Perhaps letting the corpse puppets consume them was the better option. "You looking for me?" A voice suddenly emerged from the crowd, which parted to create a path. A gaunt figure strode forward confidently, followed by 3 muscular, enormous dogs. Each beast exuded a menacing, bloodthirsty aura. This man was Zhao Hong, the leader of the Spirit Hounds. Chu Xuan eyed the man with a trace of surprise. He could sense a fluctuation of energy emanating from Zhao Hong, an energy different from spiritual qi and inherently weaker in essence. However, it was clear that Zhao Hong's superior physical condition and his ability to tame such massive dogs were due to this peculiar energy. If he were refined into a corpse puppet, his strength would undoubtedly be formidable, Chu Xuan thought, his eyes lighting up as he examined Zhao Hong as if he were a perfect piece of art. This scrutiny made Zhao Hong quite uncomfortable. Yet, recognizing that Chu Xuan was no ordinary individual, especially given his unheard-of ability to control zombies, Zhao Hong suppressed his discomfort and asked calmly, "Who are you, why are you looking for me, and what exactly do you want?" Chu Xuan responded evenly, "The Walmart you burned down was under my control." Zhao Hong paused, taken aback. That incident had occurred months ago, almost forgotten until now. Only at Chu Xuan's mention did he vividly recall the ice-cold ambience of the mall. Zhao Hong nodded, "Yes, I burned it. I was unaware of your ownership at the time. If you wish, I can arrange for another mall to be prepared for you. Most of East Lake City is under the control of the Spirit Hounds." A gang member, outraged, interjected, "Boss, he killed our man." Zhao Hong swiftly backhanded the man, sending him flying. "Not enough," Chu Xuan shook his head. Zhao Hong, meeting Chu Xuan's gaze coldly, replied, "I've offered compensation. Whether you accept it is your choice, but the Spirit Hounds will not keep making concessions. Don't forget, you also killed my man." He stood firm, the gang leader in front of his subordinates, unwilling to let Chu Xuan push him too far. Chu Xuan chuckled and snapped his fingers, "Simple. I want the entire Spirit Hounds." Zhao Hong was taken aback, then laughed out of sheer anger, "Interesting. This is the first time I've encountered someone as brazenly foolish as you. Da-hey, da-ho, oh-ho, attack. Devour him alive." As his command echoed, the 3 ferocious dogs lunged forward, their slobbery jaws aiming for Chu Xuan's throat, left arm, and right leg. Yet, Chu Xuan remained composed, hands behind his back. Hu swiftly moved in front of him while Bao vanished from sight. A golden aura enveloped Hu, making him appear as a celestial warrior descended to earth. Clang! The 3 giant dogs slammed into Hu, their powerful bite snapping shut. But in the next moment, they began to whimper in pain. Their teeth, capable of crushing human skulls, shattered like glass. Zhao Hong's heart trembled with shock. These must be high-level zombies. And such formidable zombies were being controlled by a human. But wait, weren't there 2 zombies? Where was the other one? As this thought crossed his mind, a piercing pain suddenly erupted in his back. Twisting his body in a reflexive attempt to evade, Zhao Hong still felt the acute, tearing pain. A blade, formed from condensed yin fire, sliced through his back, spewing blood and leaving a long, deep wound. the yin fire continued to burn, sending agonizing pain piercing through his mind like countless needles. In just a few breaths, Zhao Hong felt his strength draining from his wound. His complexion turned pale and his body swayed, needing support to remain upright. Whimpering sounds filled the air. By then, Hu had already dealt a brutal beating to the 3 spiritual dogs. Da He, who had attacked Chu Xuan most fiercely, was now bleeding from every orifice and convulsing on the ground, evidently on the brink of death. Da Ho and Ho, more sensible, immediately rolled over to expose their bellies in submission. Seeing this, Zhao Hong's heart turned ice cold. His long-trained spiritual dogs were effortlessly defeated and had even switched allegiances. His own vaunted physical strength seemed as fragile as tofu. Taking a deep breath, Zhao Hong suddenly pulled out a pitch-black metallic object from his bosom and, without hesitation, opened fire on Chu Xuan. Die, he snarled with a malevolent grin. Chapter 15, The Dead Are More Obedient Than the Living. The incident unfolded suddenly, and the incredible speed of the firearm caught even Hu off guard. Despite its instinct to protect its master, it was still a step too slow. Chu Xuan saw the dark firearm and the flash of gunfire, yet he showed no fear. With a swish, a line of blood surged from his palm, appearing like a streak of crimson lightning. Clang! The bullet struck the blood line and, as if hitting a steel plate, veered off course dramatically, firing into the crowd. A man screamed as he fell backward, landing in a pool of blood. The bullet had precisely pierced his eye socket and penetrated his brain. Zhao Hong's eyes widened in shock. What was that bloodline that could stop a bullet? He roared in anger and fired again. Bang, bang, bang. He discharged 3 shots in rapid succession. Each bullet was effortlessly blocked by the streak of blood, diverting their paths. None hit Chu Xuan, but 3 more members of the Spirit Hounds fell instead. Zhao Hong was utterly astounded. He had only 4 bullets, and all had been deflected. He could now see clearly that the blood line was actually a large blood-colored worm. This young man could not only control zombies but also worms. It was terrifying. Chu Xuan extended his hand and gently caressed the blood-steel wire. He calmly asked, "Is this gun your last resort?" Thump. Zhao Hong collapsed, his body going limp as he fell to the ground, devoid of any will to resist. "The Spirit Hounds is yours now." "Spare my life," Zhao Hong swallowed hard, his voice earnest. He then knelt down, abandoning any pride he had as the leader of the Spirit Hounds. He had realized that the young man before him was a monster beyond his capacity to contend with. His life and everything he owned were now firmly in the hands of this formidable stranger. Now, his only chance to survive was to show sincere submission. Chu Xuan shook his head in response to Zhao Hong's offer of surrender and an alternative shopping mall. "I'm satisfied with your body, I'll take the Spirit Hounds, and I want you too." Zhao Hong froze for a moment, then, as if suddenly realizing something, his eyes flashed with shock. "This? I'm not gay," he stammered awkwardly, "but if you insist, I guess I can't refuse." The surrounding gang members looked bewildered. This was their leader, Zhao Hong, always high and mighty. Yet now, to save his own life, he seemed ready to agree to anything. Chu Xuan couldn't help but laugh silently. "Gay? That's not what I meant." Calmly, Chu Xuan commanded, "Hu, tie him up and take him to the rooftop. Bao, you stay here with the 2 dogs and make sure no one leaves." Hu and Bao roared in acknowledgement of their orders. The Spirit Hounds members looked at each other, bewildered. With Zhao Hong kneeling and capitulating, they certainly didn't dare to flee. To them, this was merely a change of leadership. Regardless of who was in charge, they were still just underlings. The young men couldn't possibly manage everything alone, could he? Thinking this, the gang members gradually calmed down and returned to their rooms to continue whatever they had been doing. On the rooftop of the Haodai Hotel, Hu arranged a clean reclining chair, and Chu Xuan lay down comfortably. Zhao Hong kneeled before him, smiling nervously. "Big brother, what position do you want?" "I can do anything." Chu Xuan's pupils flashed purple as he again deployed the soul-capturing gaze. "I ask, you answer." Initially, Zhao Hong struggled, but within half a minute, he became as docile as a marionette, responding mechanically to Chu Xuan's questions. After a while, the influence of the soul-capturing gaze faded. Chu Xuan had extracted all the information he needed from Zhao Hong's mind. Psionic energy, a level 1 superhuman. Superhuman talent. He mused, intrigued. This planet, called Blue Star, was part of a centralized imperial nation known as the Han Dynasty, and this city, East Lake, was under the jurisdiction of Linjiang Province. East Lake City had two major forces, the Spirit Hounds Gang and the Black Blade Security. The information about the outbreak not being caused by a virus but by psionic energy was sourced from Black Blade Security. Normally, ordinary people couldn't withstand this energy, their genes would collapse, their bodies would mutate, and they would turn into bloodthirsty monsters, also known as zombies. Some people could endure the energy without awakening any talent, resulting in slightly stronger physiques, but still essentially normal humans. Others not only withstood the energy but also awakened superhuman talents, resulting in exceptionally strong physiques. These were the superhumans. Before the outbreak, Zhao Hong was a dog meat seller, often loitering around the outskirts of East Lake City, stealthily stealing domestic dogs to slaughter for meat. Perhaps it was this that awakened his superhuman talent, dog mastery, and natural ability to suppress and control dogs. Superhumans were categorized from levels 1 to 9. Having one psionic core made one a level 1 superhuman, and so on. Zhao Hong was a level 1 superhuman. Zhao Hong felt a sudden wave of dizziness wash over him. He had no inkling of the events that had just unfolded. Without further discourse, Chu Xuan turned and began to prepare the elixir for corpse refinement. Being a level 1 superhuman, Zhao Hong boasted an exceptionally strong constitution. Therefore, only the finest elixir would suffice for the corpse refining process, anything less would simply waste his gifted physique. This time, Chu Xuan devoted even longer to the preparations. It took a full 2 hours before everything was in order. Proceed, place him inside, Chu Xuan commanded, gesturing dismissively. Who faithfully executed the order. Zhao Hong looked into the bathtub, filled with a dark, ominous elixir, and his expression turned to one of fear. Brother, didn't you promise to spare my life? What exactly is this for? Chu Xuan cracked a sly smile. Just soak well, and you will emerge stronger. Hang in there. Zhao Hong swallowed nervously. He had the unsettling feeling that Chu Xuan was merely toying him. With a plunge, Hu forced Zhao Hong's head down into the bathtub. Despite his desperate struggles to lift his head, Hu's overpowering strength kept him submerged. After being forced to swallow several mouthfuls, Zhao Hong finally quieted down, evidently rendered unconscious. Chu Xuan took a sip of his instant milk tea, nodding slightly in satisfaction. Considering Zhao Hong's robust health, he had specifically added a soul-soothing herb to the elixir, a component known for its sedative effects. It was particularly well-suited for Zhao Hong. Holding his milk tea, Chu Xuan walked to the edge of the rooftop, from which he could survey the entire hotel. He observed the members of the Spirit Hounds, who were listlessly congregating below. Some were playing cards, others were chatting, and a few, with nothing better to do, were engaged in a brawl. Humans need to eat and drink every day, Chu Xuan mused aloud. Humans' hearts are hidden behind their stomachs, and there will always be those who bear ill will towards me. This Spirit Hounds engages in actions that defy moral and heavenly principles, with few good souls among them. Killing them would not diminish my virtue. If that is the case, it would be better to transform them all into corpse puppets. After all, the dead are far more compliant than the living. Chu Xuan sipped his steaming milk tea, contemplating. Hu, make your choice. Keep the strum for corpse refinement, and use the rest as nourishment. Upon hearing this, Hu roared excitedly. Chu Xuan frowned. Remember to save some for Bao and some for blood steel wire, don't consume them all yourself. Hu nodded reluctantly, then rushed off, buoyed by excitement. Chapter 16, Level 3 Psionic Core. Within the Haodai Hotel, a bloody banquet unfolded. Hu, Bao, and 2 spirit dogs all possessed strength to completely overpower ordinary humans. Where they passed, a storm of blood and carnage ensued. Screams were incessant. Chu Xuan pondered thoughtfully. Zhao Hong had once mentioned the term high-level zombies. According to him, zombies were categorized into ranks. High-level zombie was merely a general term. Above ordinary zombies were level 1 zombies, within whom a solid psionic core had condensed. Their strength was comparable to that of a level 1 superhuman. Further above were the level 2 zombies, equivalent to level 2 superhumans. However, Zhao Hong had only encountered a few level 1 zombies and had never seen a level 2 zombie. Psionic core. If a comparison must be made, would that refer to a golden core or a corpse core? The golden core is only formed by cultivators during the golden core phase. A corpse core also requires a corpse general equivalent in strength to a golden core cultivator. My two corpse puppets are still far from forming a corpse core. According to the superhuman system here, what level of zombie would they be considered? Chu Xuan chuckled softly, reluctant to dwell on the matter. After all, they were not part of the same system and could not be directly compared. Moments later, Hu arrived at the rooftop with 6 robust men in tow. These men trembled uncontrollably. One of them had even wet himself in fear. Hu, with a human finger still hanging from the corner of his mouth, swallowed it before roaring a few times to indicate that he had completed his task. Chu Xuan nodded slightly. During this time, he had prepared 6 batches of the corpse refining elixir. With a grand gesture, he directed Hu to throw them into the bathtubs to begin the corpse refining process. Meanwhile, he took to the skies on his flying magic tool, circling the Haodai Hotel in search of areas densely populated with zombies. He had not forgotten his primary objective. That was to set up the blood refining array and sacrifice a massive number of zombies. Whoosh! Chu Xuan soared through the sky on his flying sword. With human industrial activities absent, the skies of Blue Star were exceptionally clear. Chu Xuan looked down at the desolate landscape below. High-rises were overrun with lush vines. It was unclear how these vines had managed to climb hundreds of meters up the buildings. Perhaps, like animals, plants had also been affected by psionic energy, resulting in slight mutations. Chu Xuan flew around, occasionally examining the situation below and shaking his head. He was dissatisfied. In many areas, the zombies were too sparsely scattered. Using the blood refining array in such conditions was not cost-effective. After all, activating the blood refining array required spirit stones. The spirit stones he had could at best sustain the blood refining array for about half an hour. That place looks promising. Chu Xuan's eyes brightened. He suddenly discovered a horde of over 1,000 zombies gathered in an unfinished building. Moreover, these zombies were relentlessly surging upward as if something was drawing them. Chu Xuan immediately steered his flying sword closer. At this moment, in the upper floors of the unfinished building, 2 robust men in black casual wear were escorting an elderly man, rushing towards the top floor. The elder was drenched in sweat, nearly being carried as they sprinted. Yet, despite this, he clutched tightly to a large box, never loosening his grip. Moments later, they reached the rooftop. The 2 men in black produced a walkie-talkie and sent out a distress signal. They dragged all available furniture to barricade the rooftop door, hoping to delay the zombies from breaking through. The elder collapsed on the ground, gasping for air. After a while, he spoke, "Gentlemen, I'm just a burden. With me, your chances of survival are slim. Take this level 3 psionic core and leave me here. This was obtained at the cost of many lives, it must not be lost." Saying this, he sullenly passed the large box to them. Both men in black immediately shook their heads. One of them, named Zhuangqian, said earnestly, "Professor Zeng, you are the chief of the Life Science Research Institute of Linjiang Province. Your life is more precious than ours. Even if we perish, you must not." The other, named Sun Men, reassured him, "Don't worry, before coming here, we contacted Black Blade Security in this area. They will send a helicopter to pick us up. The distress signal has been sent, they should act swiftly. As long as we can hold on, we can survive." Professor Zeng sighed softly, "The world is unpredictable, I fear we cannot depend on them." Minutes later, thuds and roars of the zombies clawing and shrieking suddenly filled the air. Clearly, the pursuing zombies had caught the scent of living beings and were desperately pushing aside the furniture. Zhuangqiang and Sun Meng's faces paled as they rushed to reinforce the barricade with their own strength. But how could 2 men withstand the force of thousands of zombies? With a loud bang, the furniture was violently shoved aside. Scores of zombies surged out, causing the pupils of Zhuangqian, Sun Men, and Professor Zeng to constrict. Surrounded by so many zombies, their survival seemed impossible. Just then, the sound of a sword's hum filled the sky. The next moment, a youthful figure descended from the heavens. With a sweep of his long sleeves, a fierce wind erupted. Then, to the amazement of the 3 men, the zombies suddenly became like headless flies. Even with several living beings right before them, the zombies could neither see nor smell them. The youth flicked his finger lightly, sending a wisp of chi hurtling down the corridor. Like starving wolves catching the scent of meat, the zombies charged after it. In an instant, all the zombies had rushed into the corridor. With a casual wave of his hand, the rooftop door slammed shut. He stepped forward, took out a yellow talisman, and affixed it to the door. After these preparations, the youth then casually approached the three men. The two men gaped, feeling as though they were in the presence of a celestial being descended from the heavens. Professor Zeng scrutinized the youth. The young man's attire was reminiscent of the cultivators described in novels of immortal cultivation, making it hard for him to believe that such a person could exist in reality. Meish asked, "What did you just do? Why aren't the zombies attacking us anymore?" Zhuang Qiong couldn't help but inquire. Chu Xuan replied nonchalantly, "Just a minor spell to conceal our qi." Concealment spell, a minor technique from the qi refining stage, could completely hide one's qi. Zombies, with their poor eyesight, rely solely on their sense of smell to attack the living. By using the concealment spell, he had completely hidden their qi, rendering the zombies effectively headless flies. Then, by releasing a strand of human qi, he lured the zombies away. Zhuang Qiong was about to ask another question when the rooftop door was struck again. The ensuing roar of numerous zombies made the trio instinctively step back. However, they were astonished to find that the door had become extraordinarily sturdy. Despite the relentless pounding by countless zombies, it remained undamaged. "No need to worry, I've applied a solid rock talisman to the door. They won't be able to break through it," Chu Xuan said casually. The solid rock talisman, a minor talisman from the qi refining stage, when applied to any object, could reinforce its durability. It not only strengthened the hardness but also extended its endurance. The strength of these ordinary zombies, even 1,000 of them attacking together, might just manage to break it. However, in such a confined space, at most only a dozen could attack at once. A single solid rock talisman was more than sufficient to handle them. The three men felt completely bewildered. Solid rock talisman. What was that? Chu Xuan looked over the trio, finally focusing on the box in the elder's arms. What is in here that the zombies are chasing it? He pointed to the box and asked,